The next step in our writing process is to work on the body paragraphs. So far, you've gathered your sources, you've evaluated your sources and how your sources work together with the annotated works cited, you've written a thesis statement, you have created an outline to help organize your information, and you have written an introduction paragraph. And if you've turned all those things in, you've received feedback on them. Now it's time to really focus on the body paragraphs. And I think that this is where you're going to need to put in your most amount of time, because as you can see from this list here, there's a lot of elements in the body paragraphs. So what I want to do is take you through these elements with an example next to it so that you can see how those pieces work together. And what I've done is I have color-coded the pieces so that you can really visually see where they are. Okay, so you should have at least 4 lengthy body paragraphs in your final paper. Now you can have more if you need to. If you find that your topic naturally breaks down into more than just 4 sections, that's perfectly fine. There's no there's no maximum number here, but you do have the minimum of at least 4. Each body paragraph, as is true for good writing, starts with a topic sentence and a transition. That topic sentence tells you what the paragraph will be about, and you're working here in small chunks. We don't need one paragraph that gives an entire overview of all of your research and then the next paragraphs give pieces. Each paragraph should be just a piece. So your topic sentence tells what the paragraph will be about. You can see over here mine's in this greenish color. So I've started by actually defining a term. In my paper, I'm using terms that are very specific to my topic. If you are also, then you think about starting with a definition. And I'm using my research to support that definition. Each paragraph will also incorporate research from multiple sources. That's how you show that they work together, and that increases the sort of scholarly tone of your article when you can show that kind of consensus between and among your sources. So you want multiple sources in each paragraph, and you can look quickly and look at my citations and see that they are there. And then you also want to show your connection to your book or your literature in each of your paragraph. Quotes with that are better, but you need to at least paraphrase it. Okay. You also need to have at least 1 quote per body paragraph from your research. So you're using a combination of sources here, but you only need to use 1 total quote. The others can be just paraphrases. Now, if you look over here in the orange, I've used 2 quotes, but I've also used a number of just paraphrases to show how my sources kind of work together or support one another. Please make sure that when you do use a quote, you always explain why you used it. So you've put a quote in there because you think it makes a good point. Well, don't leave it up to me to try to figure out what point that is. Make sure that you explain what point it is you're using that quote to show. Helpful phrases are things like "this illustrates," "this shows," or "in other words," that kind of thing. Never end a paragraph with a quote. Always end a paragraph with your own words, even if it's your own interpretation or your own paraphrasing of a quote, that's fine. Always end with your own words. And please, please, please make sure you cite your sources. Which brings us to this next section, this in-text citation. So you use them for quotes, and you use them for paraphrases or explanations, things that are not your own idea. Make sure you cite it. Use a mix, parenthetical citations and signal phrases. Okay, so over here I have parenthetical citations. These 2 are authors. I had an author for a website, so that's all I need to use. No need for a page number from a website. If you have the author, just use the author's last name. If you don't have an author for a website or an article, you just use the article title. You can see the article title gets quotation marks. You can also use signal phrases, and we've talked about them. They are those phrases that signal somebody else's ideas are coming up. This right here is a signal phrase, and this is probably going to be one of your most useful signal phrases, according to, or so-and-so states, that kind of thing. I'll post a couple of slides for you that have some key phrases that you might want to use. And then just pay attention to your style. Remember that this is supposed to be a research paper, so you should have a fairly academic tone to it. Use a mix of sentences, some long sentences, some short sentences, some simple sentences, some complex sentences, and really avoid personal pronouns. No I, me, we, you, any of that. Third person only, please. Okay, so here is this paragraph. If you haven't read through it already, I'm going to pause here and give you a little bit of time just to read through it so that you can see how everything kind of works together. Here along the side are scores based on the rubric for the entire paper, which I'll get out to you. The highest score that you could get would be a 4 in each of these categories. So body, paragraph, and organization of info here, it's a 4. We've got all the parts that you need based on this list over here. All the parts are there. The research looks good because we've got a combination of sources, we've got some quotes, we've got some paraphrase, we've got some in-text citations, some signal phrases. So those look good. The connection to the book or the literature is either a 2 or 3. It is there, but a quote with an explanation might have made this a little bit more scholarly. Okay, let's take a look at a student example. This is the student example from the essay based on Looking for Alaska. It does have all of the parts. Take a quick read through that. So this paragraph connects to the literature really, really well. We've got a lot of connection between the research and the literature, so that's why this score here is a 4. Organization and research, though, is a little bit lower. We do have a combination of sources. So there's 2 separate sources that are used to support one another and used to support ideas. We do have a topic sentence. We do have definitions. So there is a good amount of information here. It could have just been elaborated on a little bit more. For example, this writer ends with researchers' information as opposed to her own ideas, that kind of thing. Let's look at one more example. Okay, so this one had a lot of really good research. We see a good combination here of sources. We see sources supporting one another, working with one another. What is missing, though, I think, are signal phrases. So there's nothing to help us transition from the writer's ideas into researchers' ideas. There's nothing that helps us transition from the book back into the research. It's a little abrupt each time that a quote is used. So signal phrase there would have helped and would have boosted the research score over here. Connection to the book, there is the connection. The connection is there. The book is interwoven throughout this whole paragraph, but again, a quote might have made this a little bit stronger, quote with an analysis. Okay, take your time writing a body paragraph, and all I want you to do is just post one body paragraph so that I can take a look at it and provide you with some feedback, and then based on that feedback, you'll be in good shape to finish out writing your paper.